for tuning into Bulls Digest. 4 hot takes in 2020 into the 2025-2026 Chicago Bulls season. Of course, because why not? Coming from, Elias Schuster as well. Going into the Chicago Bulls hot takes, the first one, of course, coming in as Josh Giddey is an all-star reserve. Now, we talked about this in the Kobe White video where we talked about Kobe White. This is being going into his contract season. Of course, he's going to break out. This is the prediction that I've talked about in a couple videos where this is Kobe White's moment to shine if he's looking to get that $30 million a year, and he wants to get way more money that Josh Giddey got being a restricted free agent, signing that 4-year, $100 million. I think Kobe White's going to want a little bit more than that. So, of course, Kobe White is going to be balling out this year, especially if he's not going to resign with the Chicago Bulls. He's going to test his value out in the open market and see what team is going to give him the bag. But what if Josh Giddey immediately makes his 4-year, $100 million deal like a steal? The guard finished the 2024-2025 season playing easily the best basketball of his career. He looked both comfortable and confident in Chicago's new look offense, so much so that it brought out the new areas of his game as well. Not only did Giddey use his 6'8" frame better than ever before and embrace physicality around the rim, but he consistently sank shots from behind the arc as well, and also from the logo. And also from behind half court as well. We could give him some props there. But overall, Giddey averaged an impressive 21.2 points per game, 10.7 rebounds, and 9.3 assists over his 19 games after the All-Star break. He also shot 50% from the field and had a shockingly 45.7% shot from long range, shooting percentage from long range. Even his production on defense, on the defensive end, showed striking improvements as he recorded 1.5 steals per game and disrupted ball handlers with his size advantage as well. And that's one thing I love, too, about that. I mean, Josh Giddey, he had active hands, and he intercepted the passing lanes, too. He was really, really active on the defensive side, and, of course, that's because of the tall frame he has and the wingspan as well that he has. Josh Giddey is showing that he can use his frame, as it just says here. He can use his frame to get physical and to show that he can keep up on the floor, of course, and he's proved that more often than not. Is Josh Giddey going to be an all-star reserve? It wouldn't shock me one bit if Josh Giddey came through and was an all-star reserve. I don't think that's necessarily too hot of a take, especially once you get into the injuries that is dealt in the Eastern Conference. Of course, the injuries that we're actually going to get into a little bit later. If you, of course, seen the Indiana Pacers, the Boston Celtics, kind of already know what we're alluding to. But Josh Giddey being an all-star reserve is something I would really, really love to see. However, this one, it's unlikely that Giddey replicates these exact numbers to begin the 2025-2026 season, but what if he gets darn close? And if he gets darn close, I definitely think that's pretty much all-star caliber. All-star reserve caliber. I don't think he's going to be starting at all. But just looking at it at the end of the day, there's no doubt he performed like an all-star caliber player during this stretch, especially when we consider the Bulls went 12-7 in their 19 games as well. So, yes, of course, seeing Josh Giddey come through in that explosive area of play on the tail end of the season, you continue that, that's definitely all-star reserve level. However, what I was actually trying to get to, Kobe White gets traded. The last thing we need to see is Kobe White getting traded. Now, you can disagree with me in the comment section. You won't trust me, you will. It's like you can disagree with me in the comment section, but please explain why Kobe White getting traded will be best. Because at this point in time, you put all your eggs in a basket for Zach LaVine with the Jimmy Butler trade. Zach LaVine is going to be the go-to guy in Chicago. He just needs some help. Here comes DeMar DeRozan. Here comes Lonzo Ball. Kobe White, is making his rise into the player that he's turning out to be right now. Everybody's gone. Everybody's completely gone. Everybody that you at least tried to invest in, even in Jimmy Butler, even in Derrick Rose, even though the Derrick Rose investment turned out really, really well until, of course, the injuries. But everything was turning out so well in terms of who you were trying to invest in until they stepped onto the court, until they had problems with the coach, Jimmy Butler, Zach LaVine as well. Zach LaVine had his opinions and thoughts, going into Billy Donovan and the game plans as well. But when you're looking at it, Kobe White is the only one left. You got rid of Zach LaVine. Jimmy Butler's gone. DeMar DeRozan's gone. Kobe White is the only pretty much guy left standing that, in terms of building from the ground up, he's there. And We talked about him being an all-star, and you've seen his play improve. We talked about the stretch that Josh Giddey went on. Coby White went on an absolute tear in the tail end of the season. But let me keep reading before I start going on tangents. But you can likely claim that this take isn't hot enough. Coby White has been in trade rumors for quite some time now, and we all know he's headed into his final year of his contract. However, I'd argue that this Bulls front office actually trading a player like White would be pretty darn shocking. Exactly, yes. And yeah, we talk about it. The writing is usually on the wall. Like Nikola Vucevic in his contract year as well. I'm not saying he's going to ball out because I'm expecting him to get traded. Nikola Vucevic is a very consistent center. He's a very consistent player, and especially in that Chicago Bulls setup as well, he held his own, and he helped the team on the more often than not on the offensive front. And so when Nikola Vucevic, you're in your contract year, you're going on 36 years old. We're not looking at any type of 5th seed, 4th seed. We're not looking at a top playoff contention. We're not a high ranking playoff team. Here in the East. You got to see what you're gonna get for Nikola Vucevic. To help your team out and future plans and for the long run. That's understandable. But Coby White, a guy 25 years old. You're seeing Coby White come through and being his own player. What is your replacement? What are you going to get for Coby White? Who are you going to get that's going to come through and you're going to invest in and help the team out? Because if that's the case, now we're just pretty much pushing our shift towards Josh Giddey. That now Josh Giddey is going to be the focal point if Coby White gets traded. Now, I understand Coby White has been in trade rumors for a couple seasons now. But even then, I still don't think if that was something that you were willing to do, you should have pulled that trigger a couple seasons ago. I don't think doing that now. I think investing in Coby would be the Chicago Bulls' best approach, and keeping the Josh Giddey, Coby White duo, and then seeing how the team flares out throughout, because this team is still young. You still got to give this team a couple years. It's not like having Coby White for these next couple years in this quote-unquote experiment that the Chicago Bulls have is going to be detrimental to his career. Like, it's not at all. If anything, it's still going to be beneficial because he's still going to be seen as the number one, and sometimes if Josh Giddey's going to be hot, number 2 guy. And so Coby White, I think trading him, that's the last thing I would definitely want to see, but you can definitely leave your comments down low. Definitely let me know what you guys think. Of course, AK has remained extremely loyal to White since he took over the franchise. The guard is the only player remaining from the guard power regime, and he is easily the current front office's most impressive developmental story thus far. Yes. White took another massive leap forward last season with the scoring impact, averaging 20 points, 4 assists, and 37% shooting from downtown. Whether it'll be a reliable stroke from beyond the arc or his vastly improved ball handling, the guard has shown genuine flashes of being a key offensive hub. So, at the same time, can White be the number 1 or number 2 scoring option on a winning team? That's going to be the biggest part, on a winning teing. It's going to be cool seeing Coby White, all the highlights of him dropping 50 in the game, dropping 48, 38, but are we winning? What is going on in these games that are allowing Coby White to not only get these open looks? How is his game being developed throughout, and how is the team working around it? Is he playing winning basketball? How is he improving the team in more ways than one? And so, of course, what's going on at the Bulls could quickly decide that moving on from White sooner rather than later is their best interest. They're likely either going to have to pay him $30 million next offseason or watch him walk for nothing in return to one of the many teams with cap space. Both are terrifying options that could lead to a trade in the weeks leading up to the deadline. And yeah, I think that's the terrifying part of itself. Of course, Noa Essengue plays 72 games. The safe assumption is that Noa Essengue spends plenty of time learning in the G League. The number 12 overall pick in the 2025 NBA draft was the second youngest prospect in the class, while the 18-year-old has climbed the draft boards because of his excellent combination and size and fluidity. Draft experts were quick to point out how raw he is on both ends of the floor. Yeah, you've seen that with his early 4-point game in the first Summer League game. Then, of course, as the Summer League progressed, you've seen the Indiana Pacer game. Even though he got dunked on, even though who was it? Jordan Furby. You're an op forever at this point in time. You're an op forever in my book. But outside of that, outside of the jokes, Noa Essengue still dropped 20 points in that game. So you still saw some progression throughout the Summer League. So whether it be lack of strength or proven ball handling, Essengue remains a true prospect piece with a lot to prove. But Since when did playing with professionals mean nothing? Essengue has spent his past 2 years battling grown men in the German league. He also had a taste of NBA action during the 2024-2025 preseason, where he dropped 20 points and 8 rebounds on the Trail Blazers as well. Add in his couple of very solid outings in the NBA Summer League, and who's to say he doesn't look more comfortable than expected from the jump? And yeah, I honestly can agree with that as well. It's just a matter of seeing how he progresses. And I do want to see him play in the G League just a couple times. We do got to see this raw talent put on display. And we seen it with Montes Buzelis. You know, we seen Montes Buzelis go on a flurry of just fluctuating from the G League into the NBA. And he also had some great outings in the G League as well with Javon Liberty Freeman. And so you see Montes Buzelis come up on the forefront, and you're just seeing the talent being put on full display. Noa Essengue, I don't think he's there to where Montes Buzelis is at now, but like he said, it's still raw. You know, we still got to see the full package, the full total package of this man, and we still not even going to see that in this rookie year. You know, because we could come to the NBA, he could come into an NBA game and just completely struggle mightily. And then we're pretty much killing this man's confidence. Just throw him in the G League, see the progression, see how he is in the first couple games or the first couple weeks, and then let's see what we can get, of course, out of Noa Essengue himself. And, of course, the Bulls steal the 7th seed. Grab some aloe. This is the hottest take of them all. This is one team that turns heads every season, and why? There's one team that turns heads every season, and why can't that be the Bulls? Don't answer that. The Eastern Conference is as wide open as it's ever been after the Achilles injury to both Jason Tatum and Tyrese Halliburton. Both teams still expected to field competitive teams, but we all know the impact that is losing your best player can have. Not only that, Indiana Pacers lost Tyrese Halliburton and Miles Turner. Right now, Pascal Siakam, he has to do a decent amount of carrying, and that's not. I know I talk about being a Pacers hater, but all jokes aside, Pacers, I'd be a little worried, you know, just being in their position. And of course, the Boston Celtics, they have talent through the roof. You know, they have talent through the roof. Now, of course, you still gotta rely on Jaylen Brown and seeing how he starts on the season as well. But man, Joe Mazzulla is just a really, really amazing coach. I think he's gonna work around the injury of Jason Tatum, and I think the Boston Celtics are still gonna remain, of course, top 3 in the East. That's not even a hot take in itself. But of course, more notably, who in the Eastern Conference is a proven commodity? The Cavaliers, Bucks, Knicks, and they may have superstars to lean on, but the first two have repeatedly fizzled out in the playoffs, while the latter has swapped out head coaches. The Pistons, Magic, and Hawks are intriguing up-and-coming squads, yet they still have to prove that they can stay healthy and consistent to compete in the postseason. As for the rest of the conference, they're either outright tanking or retooling around the youth like Chicago. So we can look at the Cavaliers, Bucks, Knicks. Yeah, that's tough. Cavaliers, Bucks, Knicks, and you can throw in the Celtics there. Those are the top 4 teams that, of course, you're going to be running up on, and the Bulls are going to be struggling with mightily going into this season, I believe. Well, Bucks, I can see them trying to make it competitive. Cavs, Knicks might be a little problem there, but Pistons, Magic, Hawks, Pistons and Hawks, of course, definitely see them struggling to stay healthy, and of course, with the Hawks just struggling to stay on the same page. Of course, as you see from Trae Young, him being in trade rumors as well. When are they going to pull the trigger on that? But, of course, the Orlando Magic always just been a really, really solid team. Just dealt with their fair share of injuries as well. So, the Bulls have proven year after year that they will not bottom out, of course. If they have an opportunity to compete for the postseason and in any capacity is present, they're going to run towards it. They already feel like a group that can find itself in the 9-10 spot again this season. So what happens if another team suffers an injury? This is God forbid. I'm not trying to come out and dispute this. I'm just reading. But I don't want to put this into the air. But, you know, a playoff spot can quickly open up. Say if a player suffers an injury or choose to play for lottery balls, of course, that's the team just looking to tank. With that being said, if the Bulls did end up clinching a first-round series with the number 2 seed, it would probably be more of a positive sign than anything else. Unlike last season, where Zach LaVine and Nikola Vucevic helped them hover over the 500 spot for months, they will presumably be doing of the organization's young talent. At some point, playoff experience does make a difference, even if it is a short series. So I firmly believe, I'm 100%, I'm 10 toes down on the Bulls making the 7th seed. Because, of course, a lot has to happen in pretty much the Eastern Conference in itself. You still got to see how the Boston Celtics are going to do without Jason Tatum, how the Indiana Pacers are going to do without Tyrese Halliburton and Miles Turner. Of course, what are the Knicks going to look like? How are they going to start off the season? Because they've dealt with their fair share of struggles throughout the game. I want to say mid-season, where it started fluctuating to a string of losses. And I'm not saying the Bulls, okay, that means they have a chance in a 7-game series. No, we're just looking at placement and seeing where teams are at. Of course, we talked about the Atlanta Hawks and their struggles as well, and just teams struggling to stay healthy with the Detroit Pistons, and of course how they are going to come out. And the Detroit Pistons started off really, really high, and the Detroit Pistons really, really wowed everyone, just coming from an abysmal season to coming out and started and just punching everybody in the mouth. And that's one of the things we're hoping the Chicago Bulls are going to look to do, is just come out into the season, start punching everybody in the mouth, and just look great. You're starting off with Josh Giddey, of course Kobe White, Isaac Okoro, Montes Buzelis, and Nikola Vucevic. That's still, I want to say, an over 500 starting lineup. A starting five that could get you somewhere. And at least if you start off hot, and it's depending on how Josh Giddey and Kobe White start off the season, we're in for a really, really, really fun season. And depending on how the Chicago Bulls fare off and what they do with Kobe White and what they do with Nikola Vucevic, it's going to say a lot about the direction of this team as well. But what do you got?